Welcome to Meet the Clinician. I'm Dr. Skip Truitt, your host today on this edition, coming to you from Nantes, France. We have a special guest with us today, Professor Jean Dallaire. Professor Dallaire is a world's expert in maxillofacial orthopedics, orthodontics, and orthognathic surgery. Dr. Dallaire has practiced in France since 1950. Welcome to the program, Dr. Dallaire.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are really in France, in Nantes, where I am very happy to meet your foundation for discussion. I'll try to respond to the question that you posed to me, but sometimes it's possible that I am obliged to speak in French.
Professor, you're obviously a legend in our profession. Could you please give us a little background on your education and training?
Yes, I have successively learned medicine during 9 years, and after that dentistry as stomatologist at the Institute of Stomatology of Paris during 3 years. And after I have been elected professor and director of the Institute of Dentistry of the town, of the city of Nantes, and at the same time director of the Clinic of Stomatology and later of chirurgy maxillofacial and chirurgy plastic of the head. During this time, I have successively exerted medicine, dentistry, and surgery. And I believe that it is a good formation to understand all the aspects, the general aspect of your profession. It is essential of my formation.
Professor, when did you first develop the concept of treating a maxilla that is retrognathic to the anterior cranial base?
I had the great chance to be pupil of Dr. Lebourg, who was the first understood the signification, the real signification of the facial sutures. Before him, that suture was considered only as a ligament, and he demonstrated in his thesis in 1932 that in reality the suture has periosteum specialized, where there is a great quantity of growth and permitting various dispositions of the bone of the face, one by others and in relation to the base of the cranium. During a stage of 1 year near him, I saw a case of Pierre-Marie Sainton disease. The other name is dysostose cleidocranienne, where there is a dysplasia of the periosteum and a diminution of the ossification of the sutures. As a consequence, you have a mobility of the face in relation to the cranium, as after a Lefort fracture. This observation has been published by Dr. Lebourg and me in 1963. After that, I have seen many cases of babies with cleft lip and palate, and I have observed in all times in important mobility of the bones on one side, another side, laterally and forward. Some years after to have work on the growth of the vault of the cranium and the base and the orbit and the zygomatic arch and the maxilla, the maxilla and mandible. Chris, could you help me to translate that I said? Thank you.
After a number of years of experience and observations, I became quite convinced that it would be possible to achieve a forward movement of the maxilla using a properly constructed appliance. And this came about particularly in the case of a young girl of 9 years old who had previously been surgerized for a cleft labio-maxillopalatine division, cleavage, and this is how it came about, because she had a very retruded maxilla.
Professor, what do you feel are the optimal forces that should be employed with your maxillary propulsion appliance, that incidentally is also known as a reverse pull headgear?
At the beginning, I think that the forces must be strong. And during 1 year, about 1 year, I use strong forces of about 1 milligram. The results was very rapid. But after 1 year, with my collaborator, we diminish the forces, and now I think that 600 grams, 300 by side, is a better mode of application of these forces.
Where are these orthopedic forces applied to the maxilla?
I have tried to put tractions at the middle of the superior maxilla, and after at the posterior part, but with results not so good, that when the forces are at the level of the posterior side of the second of the lateral incisor superior, at the posterior edge of the lateral incisor. I believe that it is the best side. Otherwise you can have deviations, in particular in the case of posterior traction, and modification of the orientation of the occlusal plane.